But we're back. It's Music Maniacs. What episode? We're on 4 now?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Time flies.
It does.
So big shout out to everybody for being here. We appreciate you. Anything you want to tell the people before we get into our very special topic of the day?
No. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us and supporting us.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day over here in Brooklyn, New York. The sun's shining. The birds are chirping. Mm-hmm. And somewhere faintly in the distance, you can hear a homeless man taking a shit on the sidewalk.
You can.
So it's a great day to do a podcast about Def Jam records.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what we're doing.
Oh, yeah. It's always a good time to talk about Def Jam, like a pioneer force in the hip-hop industry.
Yeah. I
Definitely.
mean, it's just it's crazy. Like the whole... Like, yeah, hip-hop as a business would not exist how it does without Def Jam. Like... it would have happened in some way.
Yeah.
But in this reality where we live in,
yeah,
it just wouldn't have been the same without Def Jam.
Yeah.
There's just no way.
Yeah. Like, I feel like Def Jam really solidified everything because that was like the hip hop label.
Yeah.
You know, whereas like other small labels and record companies, you know, when they were probably just signing new hip hop acts, they probably had a bunch of R&B acts as well, or a bunch of like, you know, doo-wop acts too, or something like that. Because we're talking about the 80s here, you know what I'm saying? So they probably like, oh yeah, I'll sign this guy. But Def Jam was like, you know, we only deal with hip hop, basically.
Well, I feel like if we're really gonna do this, we should talk about the two of them like separately, and then how they like came together.
Rick and Russell.
Of Rick and Russell.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
should they have called it Rick and Russell Records?
R&R, R&R. Yo. Possibly.
It's like Barnum and Bailey. Rick and Russell.
Ricky and Russell. Making all the music. But, okay, so who do you want to start with?
Let's start with Rick. Yeah. I always just say back when Rick used to be so handsome. Let's start with Rick though. No offense, Rick. You're still handsome now.
Sifa had a crush on Rick. No big deal.
I did. And a couple of other people on Def Jam as well, but we'll talk about them.
Yeah. So, okay. So Rick is from Long Island.
Uh-huh.
He's from the island, out on the island over there, doing all kinds of island things.
Yes.
And the dude, I don't really know too much about his like early life, but it's just, he clearly just loved music. He had such a passion for music, and he, like his initial like outlet of music was he was in a punk band.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's really interesting because like for somebody that like, I guess isn't a music, you know, historian in the way that we are, doesn't know as much about music, somebody might see punk rock and hip hop and think that they're really different.
Right.
But they're really not.
Not at all.
They're really basically the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Like,
first of all, they're both rooted in Jamaica, which is odd.
I feel like, I don't know, it's just so interesting because like, well, especially at this time, it's like hip hop really only existed in New York City.
Yeah, at this particular time.
I mean, we're talking very early 80s. Hip hop
Yes.
started in the South Bronx.
Yes.
And it's so at this time, it's like hip hop was really like a New York thing. Like maybe if you had like a cousin in New York or some shit, like you
Yes.
could kind of know about it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a national thing.
Right.
It wasn't a worldwide thing. It was pretty much like a New York phenomenon.
Yeah.
So Rick was around all of that, like while he's in, you know, the punk space as well. And he's kind of like, this is all the similar. Like it's all like the same kind of attitude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And he recognized that, and he's just kind of like, all right, these things like go together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he started Def Jam in his dorm room at NYU.
Yes.
And he was just making beats on like whatever drum machine they had at the time.
Yeah.
And I mean, well, we got to talk about Russell, obviously, but he started it by himself in his dorm room. And it was just because of his passion for music. He wasn't like, oh, I'm going to turn this into the biggest label ever or whatever. He was like, this is what I'm trying to make, and this is how I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then on the other side,
We have Russell.
we got Russell.
Yeah.
He's from Hollis, right?
Yes.
What is Hollis like? Do you know how? I've never been there. Like,
I've never been there, but these are parts of Queens that are not Jamaica. Queens, you know, not the South Side, like where 50 is from. So looks very, you know, I was going to say clean. I mean, because you couldn't say that in the city. So these are parts of Queens, like by Astoria, I think northern Queens, that just look a little bit more cleaner. Chances are that Russell grew up in a home with a front yard and a backyard, a driveway, and 2 parents in the house. That's basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, I've always heard of Hollis as being kind of more like suburban.
Yes. Yes.
But I've never been there, so.
Pretty. Yeah, like Astoria, Hollis, like the places where Kid and Play, Salt and Pepper, and like Run DMC are from are nice areas.
Right.
They're nice areas.
So Hollis is almost Long Island.
Yeah, because that's the come up, right? You're in Queens, and then when you get money, you can go out on the island.
Right. Well, I feel like that's interesting because I feel like you get money and you're either going to go into Manhattan or you're going to go further out on the island.
Right.
But nobody's going to stay in Queens.
No one's going to stay in Queens. No. I mean, it depends.
That's not how this works, all right?
Yeah, but there's some excellent parts of Queens that you wouldn't even think was New York City.
True.
Honest to goodness.
Okay, so that's where Russell's from. So Russell is a little bit older than Rick, and he was a very pivotal figure in the start of hip hop. And before we even get like farther into it, we have to acknowledge, I want to just get this out of the way with Russell. He's been accused of rape, and then he fled the country and went to a place where there's no extradition treaty with the United States. We got to say it. I wasn't there. I don't know exactly what happened, but we can't just act like that hasn't happened.
Right. Is he there right now?
I believe so. Okay. I believe he's in Bali. So we had to say that. But we're talking about Def Jam. We're talking about how this all came together. We can't tell the story of Def Jam without telling the story of Russell. It's just impossible. So Russell was a huge figure in the start of hip hop and becoming like a business, because hip hop was something that grew out of the streets. Yeah. And there were like we were saying, there weren't hip hop record labels. It wasn't like a commercial thing. Like it was just something that people were doing on the street. And Russell kind of became like a manager of a bunch of different artists, and he kind of was like, had the business sense of be like, okay, something is clearly happening here. We need to kind of legitimize it. We need to be able to make this a business in a way, right? Yeah. So I know he managed like Curtis Blow. Yes. Who had like one of the first rap songs ever recorded, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, there were people before Curtis Blow. I believe he was he's one of few solo acts back in the day, because remember it was like Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, and then it was like the Treacherous Three, and but he was like, he stood alone, Curtis Blow, by himself. And it's like it's crazy that he's basically somebody that nobody talks about now, but he is basically, he's pretty much
use all the breaks.
Yeah, every rapper wants to be crowned king of New York at one point in time, and Curtis Blow was definitely a king of New York at one point.
True. And Russell managed him.
Yes.
And so who else did Russell before Def Jam? Russell also managed Run DMC. Yeah. Who his brother is part of.
Right, his brother is
Houdini, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's got to be other ones.
Yeah, there are definitely other ones. That I don't. But it was other groups, and Run DMC was one of the main ones that he was managing, and just wanted. I forgot who else it was, but it's somebody that even back then I didn't know who it was. I forgot the name. Sorry, person.
Sorry, guy. Okay, yeah. So Russell was like, he was really making shit happen. Yeah. As far as hip hop, and it's like, this is what I've read at, doing research about it, is like Rick knew who Russell was, because obviously Rick was into hip hop, and like Russell was basically the face of hip hop at the time. Yeah. Because the way that it was, like I read it, is Rick was basically saying, like, if you were trying to put on a hip hop show in New York City, you had to talk to Russell. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So he was like a driving force before Def Jam. Yeah. So then at the same time, Rick, they didn't know each other, right? So you have Russell over here doing his thing, like he's all in the business of music, trying to make, hip hop into a business. Yeah. And then you have Rick over here who's just all about the music. And so Rick literally started Def Jam in his dorm room, and he's making beats and shit. And the record that really made him, like, people notice him was It's Yours. Yeah. By, what was it, Tila Rock? Something like that? Yeah. Yeah. And I only knew that song before because I knew that Nas sampled it. Yeah. It's yours. You know what I mean? I knew it from that. But I didn't realize how big of a deal that single was. Yeah. For what came out of it.
Right. Exactly. Because I didn't know the song either. Like, with like Def Jam, like the artists that I know are like technically younger, like, you know what I'm saying, you know, and I didn't know like Tila Rock, but I did know that was the sample, and I still to this day have never heard that full song.
I didn't hear it until yesterday. like looking up research for this, I'm like, I should listen to it, and it's clearly a Def Jam beat.
Yeah,
like it's clearly an 80s Def Jam beat. Okay. You know what I mean? But it's cool the way that it happened. So what was it? It was DJ Jazzy J made that happen because he knew Rick somehow, I think.
Yeah,
and he knew Tila Rock.
Right. Yeah, it's like I feel like it's just one of those things where there are only so many places that you can go to hear some hip hop in the city.
Right.
So
right.
There's only so many faces that you're gonna see after a while, you know, and because it's such a small market, you could shoot up very quickly to the main guy. Like you just had to get in. Like I remember simple things, just like writing magazines, and I wrote, like, my mom was a news editor, and I was like, oh, I want to write this Caribbean article so I can get free tickets to this concert, and it just goes like that.
Ah, okay, yeah,
it just snowballs after. So I feel like that was there because I know. Well, I mean, Russell and them's father was a reverend, so I don't know, but I'm pretty sure, like, a reverend in a neighborhood knows everybody.
So was the guy in Run DMC. He was a reverend, right?
So I'm pretty sure that's how Russell was able to, like, get his hustle on. Because, you know, like, the preacher's kid and the teacher's kid, they're always, like, little mayors in a way, you know?
They're little politicians.
Yes.
They know everybody.
Yes.
So, okay, so they put out... so Rick Rubin put out It's Yours with Tila Rock. So something that I learned about this was actually super interesting. So this is like the first Def Jam release, and literally like this is before they had any kind of distribution deal or anything. The address that was on the Def Jam like sleeve was Rick's dorm room.
That's awesome.
So that record was a big deal because nothing really sounded exactly like it before that. So one of the young people that heard that record and wanted to get involved with this was a young man by the name of LL Cool J.
Who I also had a crush on.
I mean, who doesn't, right?
I love LL Cool J.
Hey, ladies love Cool J, you know? But so LL literally mailed him a demo tape to his dorm room.
Yeah.
Because he didn't know, because it's like, think about it, like if you just see like, oh, Def Jam Records, you don't know who this is. You're just like, oh, Def Jam, this is a great song. And you just send it. You don't know that it's going to a dorm room. You don't know anything.
No.
You're just like, oh, I'm going to send him my demo.
Yeah.
So you know what else? Something I realized doing research for this, something that was really interesting. Guess who Rick's friend was that would listen to all the demos?
Who?
Ad Rock.
I that just came out of my mouth. It's always Ad Rock. That's why.
It's always Ad Rock.
It's always him.
So I don't know exactly, Ad Rock from the Beastie Boys, if y'all don't know. So I don't know exactly how Rick and Ad Rock met.
I mean, yeah, because these guys are from the city and Rick's from out there.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's just like it's a thing. You just end up gravitating towards each other. I'm pretty sure if we were in that small thing and there were only like two other Caribbean girls from like Brooklyn, like I would probably find my way towards them. Like, you know what I mean?
Things would have brought you together at some point.
Yeah.
So basically Ad Rock would be chilling with Rick in his dorm room, aka Def Jam headquarters. and he would listen to all the demo tapes, and he heard LL's demo tape and was just like, yo, Rick, check this fucking kid out. You know what I mean? So Ad Rock is directly responsible for LL being signed to Def Jam.
Yeah.
Which I think is crazy.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
And that was, if I could say, that was like one of the best things that was meant to be. First of all, he just left Def Jam, just quote unquote, like LL, like, you know, when Jay-Z came over, like LL Cool J was so huge and he was so
and sexy,
right, and then so young and fresh and like confident. And then also funny. Very, very funny.
He was only 17. He was only 17 when he sent this demo to Rick.
Absolutely. And you could see he was just a baby. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, there were so many things about LL. LL is like the first 50 Cent. And it's no coincidence that they're both from Queens. It's probably like a thing. But you know how 50 Cent kind of like trolls people and he's mischievous and stuff. LL was like that. You know what I'm saying? So it was funny all the time. I mean, he was a mystery too because he had the hat on his head all the time, so people would be like, he's got 5 lumps on his forehead, he's bald, and he's only 19.
That's funny.
There were so many things, but what a great act LL was. There was a versus the other day between KRS-One and Big Daddy Kane, and they were saying how one of them should have battled LL, and I was just like, that's not gonna happen. LL could have stopped. That versus could have happened, and LL could have stopped in 1990 and would have destroyed them. Like, you know what I mean? And the whole crowd would have went crazy. Like,
that's so true.
But what a great artist.
Mama's gonna knock you out.
Oh my gosh.
Don't call it a comeback.
Exactly.
I've been here for years.
When that came out, it was his comeback. Like, he had been gone for so long, and then he came back and he was huge. And people were like, what?
Jacked. Yeah. Knocking motherfuckers out.
Yeah. LL was great. What the F? I thought I conquered the world. What? Crush Mo D, Hammer, and Ice-T's girl. Like, that is the biggest joke ever. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah, no, LL is great, and we'll talk more about him as we go on, obviously.
Right.
But so many things happened from that It's Yours record. LL saw it, sent the demo to Rick,
and became huge.
And somebody else that saw that record was Russell.
Yep.
So Russell knew DJ Jazzy J, who made the record with Rick.
Yeah.
And he heard that, and he was just like, yo, you got to introduce me to this guy.
Yeah.
Because he knew right away, because Russell is the business guy. He's not. We were talking about this a few days ago. He's not like the music guy.
No.
But he's got an eye for talent.
Right. His voice can be heard on some records way back in the day and stuff like that, just like saying stuff. But he's
like
not
like the Diddy roll.
Right. But he's not trying to be all up in your videos.
But no, so that's what I'm saying. It's just really cool because Russell was not the music guy, but he knew who was. Like he could recognize it.
Yeah.
And he heard that record and was like, whoever made this is what I got to get involved with this.
Would you say Russell had an ear for talent?
I would say he had an ear and an eye for talent.
Okay.
So he was like, yo, I got to meet this guy. And this also made me laugh. So they set up a meeting. Jazzy J set up the meeting with Rick and Russell was like, holy shit, these beats were so fire, I couldn't believe it was a white dude. So they met, and like obviously I guess they just hit it off or whatever. Obviously Rick's passion for music must have just shown through.
Yeah.
So they ended up going back to the dorm room, and Rick shows Russell the beats that he's been working on, and Russell was like, these are all hits. Like, this is crazy. Like, this kid is like 18 in a dorm room making fucking hits. Like, these are bangers. And Russell was already, so like we said, he was already like a big deal in hip hop. Like, he was like Rick knew who he was.
Yes.
And he was a couple years older than him. And when you're like 18, like a 5-year age gap is kind of a lot.
Oh yeah.
So Rick was like, oh my God, I can't believe like Russell wants to like be a part of this. You know what I mean? So he was so happy to have that. And Russell is just like, this kid is the truth. You know what I mean? He was dealing with other labels, like managing other bands and shit, or crews or whatever you want to call them. But when he met Rick, he was just like, this is where I need to focus my energy on.
Yeah.
Like, this is something special.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it all started from that record. If they didn't put that record out, they wouldn't have met the same. LL wouldn't have got involved, and so much shit that did happen wouldn't necessarily have happened like that.
Yeah, and it was always a good combination. Like, seeing them together and their energy that played off each other was always refreshing and good. Like, it was good to see, and it was, we're gonna get down the line and talk about them more, but them together was Def Jam in a lot of people's eyes. It was Rick and Russell, because what a combination. You know what I'm saying? You got Rick with the shades looking incognito. You got Russell, who knows about the business, and like when they put out the movie
and the promotion.
Yeah, so it's just like, you see that as Def Jam.
Right. So that I don't remember what year that was. It's still early 80s.
Very early.
So now they're like, okay, so now Russell's a part of it. Now you got Rick and you got Russell. And now like they just went for it. And it's crazy how quickly, well, I guess cuz hip hop was such a small culture at the time, they got to the top within like a year.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is all out of Rick's dorm room.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. And who was first to have a record on Def Jam? Was it LL or was it the Beastie Boys?
Well, they were with Russell, so I would say them. I would say it's the Beastie Boys before LL, right? Because they were like actually with Rick, right? They were like Rick's act. So the first record, I don't know. Let's Google it. No, I'm just kidding.
No, we got encyclopedias in our minds.
Yeah, I'm gonna say LL.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with him.
Yeah, and this was another interesting story that I heard, and it's like the difference between like how a rich person thinks and a poor person thinks. Because I heard a story that one of like LL's first music videos, he showed up wearing like all this jewelry and shit.
His heroes were like Grandmaster Flash and Melly Mel and stuff that. So if you think about the way they used to dress, LL showed up like that with like thigh-high boots and everything.
Mm-hmm. So like we have a young like 18-year-old LL who's just like trying to stunt. He shows up wearing all this jewelry, the big chains and the rings and shit. And Rick Rubin,
he's wearing like leather and like a Grandmaster look. He's looking like almost like Africa Bambaataa. You know what I'm saying? Like he might as well had a long feather on his hair. He probably got leather and like almost looking like an urban cowboy. That's how LL showed up.
Well, what they were saying in the story that I heard is that for one music video, he showed up with just like all blinged out, just everything. Okay. And Rick was just like, don't wear that. Rick was like, why do you need that?
Yeah.
And LL was like, well, I want people to know I'm doing good. And Rick was just kind of like, you do good enough, you don't need that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was like a story. And apparently LL was so like adamant that he wanted to wear all his jewelry. He went up to Russell and was like, yo, Russell, what the fuck? Like, Rick doesn't want me wearing this shit. And Russell was just like, listen to Rick. Like Rick knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, and that became a good image for LL because that's all you think about. He had I think about old school LL Cool J with like a polo shirt, jeans, a Kango, and just like one rope chain. When Bigger and Deffer came out though, he had like the two. He had the 4-finger rings. He had to have that on, but he wasn't all jeweled up. Never. He was kind of. It's not clean cut, but hip hop clean cut, if you could say. Yeah, so I guess he did listen to Rick.
But I just thought that was really interesting because, and then now he says, he's like, looking back, Rick was totally right.
Yeah, because, well, he just seems like an excessive guy because he shows up for the audition with the whole Grandmaster Flash outfit. And then Russell's like, hell no. And then he shows up for his video with all the chains and stuff. It just seems like that's his personality, you know?
So LL put out his record. It was huge. And then... Okay, so we got to talk about the Beastie Boys. So, the Beastie Boys, I think one of them was from Manhattan. The other two were from Brooklyn, something like that.
Yeah, definitely all from the city, though.
They're all from the city. They met up with Rick, and they were a punk band.
Yeah.
Again, it's kind of similar to Rick. Like, they were a straight-up punk band.
Yeah.
But they were around, and they were... I don't want to say in the streets necessarily, but they were around. They knew what was going on. They knew about hip hop.
Yeah.
And they fucking loved it. And it was the same thing. Like they kind of recognized like hip hop and punk rock. It's like one of the same. So they kind of like started like expanding and like going into hip hop a little more. Mm-hmm. And then their first record, License to Ill, I believe went number 1. Mm-hmm. And this is something I didn't know until recently. I thought that maybe like Rick, like once this all got big, like I didn't even know that he finished college. Mm-hmm. Like in my head, I was just like, oh, like you're running a record label? Fuck that. What do you need college for? But apparently he stayed and finished college while this is all happening. And this entire time, Def Jam Records headquarters was in his dorm room until he graduated.
Yeah.
So literally they're making number 1 records out of this man's dorm room.
Yeah.
It's fucking insane.
It is insane, but that's New York radio for you. You know what I mean? Or lots of radio. You climb the charts and you're still broke. You know, there's many, many artists. Like even Mary J. Blige was like, Real Love was on the radio and I was still walking up the hill to the projects. Like, it's just crazy. But that's just how it happens. I'm glad he finished college because... telling from him and his personality is probably around a lot of naysayers. You know what I mean? Like, what you gonna do? You're gonna run a record label? That's what you know what I mean? So not only that, he proved them wrong with that, but then he got his degree so he could pretty much stunt on those same motherfuckers. Like, you know? I'm
just saying, like, that's low key so genius.
Yeah.
Like that's genius level something to pull off. Like, you're literally founding a record label that you're putting out number 1 records. Like, first of all, how many people ever can say that you founded a record label with a record that went to number 1?
Right.
Not many people.
Right.
So he did all of that while still taking classes and still doing well enough to graduate.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
That blew my mind. I didn't know that until recently.
Yeah. He's definitely Oh, one for the books, that Rick Rubin. But I know he did that. It had to be, because he's like, I'm probably going to end up in rooms with a bunch of like really intellectual people.
Yeah.
And the first thing they ask you when you try to prove a point that's against somebody else's point, where'd you go to school? Nowhere. No.
Florida State. Yeah, so it's just really cool about having, because again, like before Def Jam, hip hop was a very local thing. But then now you got a #1 record in the nation.
Yeah.
So clearly this is bigger than it was before Def Jam got their hands on it, if you will.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
They really took it from like a local street level kind of thing into business.
Yeah, it's super, super local. And yeah, anybody, you know, sometimes like New York people have like an arrogant mind. And then a lot of us were like, if you came before Def Jam, like, who are you? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that is dinosaur music. Like, we thought like that, you know, almost to the point where even like if you were Run DMC, that was too far back. Like, you know what I mean? Just like, whoa,
that's interesting.
Like, yeah, because like, no offense, but because I'm just speaking from a young person's mind state, right? Like a person in school.
Say it.
By the time people like Nas and DMX came out, didn't nobody want to hear about no Run DMC?
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to hear about that. Like, honest to goodness. They had a song where they had some type of resurgence in like 91. I think Pete Rock and CL Smooth remixed Down with the King. And that was good, but that was about it. Like Run was already irreverent. He was already going the other way. Yeah. And that was back in the day where if you lasted like 3-4 years, you were like a legend. Exactly, exactly. Because so think about it. Like by the time it was 91, you're talking about Run DMC, who started in what, 84, maybe even
probably
before that, in the 70s and stuff. They were with each other and stuff. But when they became like super, super solid and came under the Def Jam label, you think like by the time 91 came, they were already played out. And you think about that with somebody like Jay-Z, who's been around since like 95, 94, right. And it's 2021.
Right.
And Jay-Z's technically not played out. Like, you know what I mean?
Debatable.
Yeah,
well, numbers wise, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, you know what I'm saying? People still consider him, you know,
they
somebody worth
him
talking about.
Yeah.
And like kids that are rappers today will rate him. Like, you know what I'm saying? They'll have his album and be like, oh yeah, this is one of my, you know, this is one of my good songs. But like in 1991, you didn't have like the Run DMC albums. Like, this is a lyricist, right? Like, you know what I mean?
Right. Well, this is, I mean, we did an episode on Biggie lately, and it's like, in my head, it's like the era of Run and the era of Biggie never crossed. You know what I mean? And we're not talking about a long time in between.
No.
We're talking about mid 80s to early 90s. Yeah. And it's like the whole culture was completely different.
Yeah, because I mean, I put Run DMC in like 84, 85. That's when it was like marketing huge. Where it's like the logo, like I just had on a shirt yesterday, Broadway Dance Center made a t-shirt after Run DMC's logo. You know what I'm saying? So that like Fruity Pebbles had rope chains and Barney was rapping. Like that was Run DMC. The hats with the gazelles and the rope chain and the Adidas.
Yeah.
That's like 84, 85. So that's when I want to say that they like peaked and they were like a worldwide phenomenon. So they pretty much, in my mind, lasted from like 84, 85 to like 1990. Like that's not long at all.
Well, it was interesting. I was, you know, obviously doing a lot of research on this, and so we got to talk about one specific song, one specific collaboration.
Yeah.
That really launched all of this even way further than it was before.
Yes.
Because Rick was a big fan of like 70s hard rock.
Yeah.
Which you can tell in like, if you listen to the first Beastie Boys album, we talked about this in the Zeppelin episode. I listened to it last night. There's like 12 fucking Zeppelin samples. It's wild. The first song is literally a mashup of a Zeppelin sample and a Black Sabbath sample. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So Rick took Run DMC and he was like, you know what would be really cool? Is if you guys did a song with this other band that I really like that's kind of down on their luck right now. And what was that band?
Aerosmith.
Yeah. So that video, that was before my time, but as far as I understand it, like that video really broke down a lot of barriers as far as rap becoming even more mainstream.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because now you got like one of the biggest bands from before kind of boosting them, almost like endorsing them in a way.
Yeah.
And then Run DMC kind of endorsing them back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it just brought it to an even larger commercial level.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's that song is like a catch-22 or something like that, because that began Aerosmith's resurgence,
and Run
DMC was going lower and lower and lower.
Yeah.
I mean, the song is cool and everything, but my favorite Run DMC songs are songs that have no collaboration. Like Rockbox is amazing. Like, they've just got so many songs that are rock and roll inspired, that were, to me, better than Walk This Way. But I do love both bands. I love Run DMC and I love Aerosmith as well. But they consider that a pop record, and they didn't even want Run DMC to really make it. Like, Russell really was like, I don't know, and Run was like,
But Rick
was like,
no. Let me tell you something. This is gonna be huge.
Yeah.
And he's fucking right.
Yeah.
He was fucking right. You know what else is crazy? I was thinking about this. Like, I mean, we obviously mentioned earlier, like, what's going on with Russell now. I haven't heard anybody say anything bad about Rick Rubin ever.
No, I mean,
maybe like, oh, he didn't work so hard on this album as opposed to other albums, but nobody's, you know what I mean? Nobody's been like, Rick is a shitty person. I've never heard that.
He's really trying to make waves. He's like trying to go home. Like, you know what I mean? He's there in the cut and stuff like that, but he's not trying to date every supermodel from Long Island.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like, calm down. There's a lot for everybody. So that's probably why. Well, Russell was always, he was the guy, the face. So he was always in your face in the club with the weed and the alcohol and the drugs and he was wild.
It is interesting. I want to touch on something that you brought up earlier. Like, their dynamic is like, clearly like Russell's all like promoting, like, we're doing this, we're doing that, blah, 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 blah. Like, he was very like extroverted.
Yeah.
And then Rick is just kind of like doing his own thing.
Yeah.
And that it is really like a good dynamic.
Yeah.
Like to have. It's just even like watch them interact.
Yeah, because it wasn't like Rick was a total wallflower. He was very present and, confident too, but it was a great dynamic because it was like one was too much and the other one was not a lot. So it was just like, it was cool. And you like them both,
Yeah.
And then what topic are you going to cover next? I'm like talking over my words. Then they did the movie.
Yeah, Crush Groove. Yeah,
they did the movie, which was awesome.
Yeah, I don't know where that falls chronologically. Was that before the Beastie Boys album and stuff? Like, I don't really...
That movie came out in 84, so I'm just going to say
okay, I know License to Ill was 86.
Yeah.
So that was before.
A little bit after, yeah. They came a little bit after that. But what I found crazy about that, it's like Def Jam was only in business for such a small time, but it was so important and so great that just like a couple years later, like these people were still stars. They decided to make a movie about it, and it was a huge movie. Like, I couldn't believe it was actually their lives because those people were still like moguls, and it was very interesting. Like,
it's kind of like we were saying. It's like hip hop was so small at the time that it was. I'm not going to say it's never easy to rise to the top of anything. Yeah. But when you have a smaller pond, it's easier to be a big fish, right? Yeah. So it's like, totally. They came up so quick. It's like, it only took like a year or two later. It's like, these guys are cute. These guys are legends. You know what I mean? They had already done things and brought hip hop to a place that it had never been before. Yes. That it's like, you already know that they're making history.
Right.
You know?
Right. Isn't that crazy?
I mean, I'm pretty sure License to Ill was the first hip hop #1.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so crazy to think about because, like, there's no way, like, we were talking in the Biggie episode about, like, Bad Boy Records and shit. There's no way that could have been, I feel like without Def Jam, like, that would have been so much harder to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Because so many people were on Def Jam. Oh, my gosh. So many, like, they just had, like... Def Jam was like the Wu-Tang Clan of record labels. Like, you know what I mean? Like, everybody was on Def Jam, and it was such a vast different, like I said, like I mark things from like Run DMC. So somebody like Run DMC and then like EPMD, they're so different, but EPMD said we wanted to be Run DMC. That's why we're named like that, and that's why our logo looks like that. But that formula of like two MCs and a turntable guy, like Def Jam did that to death, and whoever they cranked out, it was still great. You know what I'm saying? You had Third Base, who came like 1990. They were like MC Search and Pete Nice, and like even some of those people that Def Jam signed ended up signing bigger people because MC Search signed Nas. Like, you know what I mean? So it's just like the pay it back was really cool with Def Jam, but the variety of artists that they had was just crazy.
Speaking of variety, I mean, Slayer was on Def Jam during this time. Like, that's wild.
Yeah, that's insane.
And we actually did a reaction video to one of their songs, and I didn't even think about it at the time. I was like, oh, this is a Def Jam recording.
It's crazy.
Like, that's wild.
Yeah. Everybody was on Def Jam. My goodness. What a cool label. I never used the word deaf though as a slang word. Oh, that shit is deaf. I never used that.
It's a Def Jam.
That to me was an old word.
Right.
Like, it was words that Run DMC used. Like, you know what I mean?
It was corny.
Yes. It was just played out by then. You know, we said things like it's dope. Like, you know, by then we were saying dope, and dope has lasted so many decades. Like, you know what I mean? Nobody says deaf.
That's true. Oh, and then also real quick, I just have to say this about Run DMC. Is it just me, or is DMC so much cooler than Run? I always thought he looked so much cooler. I thought his style was cooler. That might be controversial, but I don't know.
I liked Run a lot because to me Run was cuter and a lot more like all in your face and stuff. So I was super young, so I liked that. DMC said he was cool like that because he was smoking a lot of weed. He said that's what made him cool, and now he doesn't smoke weed, so now he's kind of different.
That's interesting.
But I that look that DMC had, I always saw that as trouble. Like,
really,
I did not like the gazelles with the low haircut. Like, to me, that meant trouble. And now I'm watching this series on Stars, and like the drug dealers from those days, that's how they dress, with the low waves, rat tail, the gazelles. And then the dope man sneakers. Like, I once I saw those glasses, I used to be like, but I liked DMC though. You know what I'm saying? I liked him, but out in the streets and stuff, those kids, no.
Yeah. So I mean, and this is like everything that we talked about is only over the course of like 2 to 3 years.
Yeah. Right.
Which is also crazy. I mean, so I think 86 was Licensed to Ill and Walk This Way.
Yeah.
And then, how much longer was Rick even with the company?
Not too long, because Leor came like
right
Cohen,
away. Right?
Yeah,
Cohen?
Leor Cohen came right away, basically. He was like, it was like, I don't, no offense to Rick, you know, because everybody loves Rick, but I don't even remember when Rick left. Like, you know what I mean? I don't. All of a sudden, it was just Russell by himself. And then all of a sudden, it was like that guy, Leor Cohen. And it was just like, wait, who? Like, and then you didn't really care, because it's interesting. Just the way Def Jam was going was the reaction in the streets. Like, you didn't really care who was at Def Jam because you were looking at other acts on different labels. Like, Wu-Tang was blowing up.
Right.
Bad Boy was coming out of the, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
Diddy was doing stuff with Uptown MCA. You had kind of like a hip hop and R&B mix, the New Jack Swing. You had Teddy Riley. So nobody was really checking for who's at Def Jam and all that stuff like that. But that is how it happened. Rick jumped ship and was like, I'm super talented and I could do this on my own, basically.
Yeah, and the way that I understood it is that Russell was gone. He wasn't in New York a lot because he was like, these people that he was managing, he would be like on the road with them and stuff. Mm-hmm. So he brought in Leor to handle more of the business operations.
Right.
So then you got like basically like a newcomer, mm-hmm. and he's coming in and he's trying to say how things should be done. And Rick is kind of just like, I don't know, man. I think I can do this. I don't think I need you for this.
Right.
So he leaves and he starts Def Jam American recordings or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then this isn't just a Rick Rubin episode. We could easily do a whole episode on Rick Rubin. But then after that, he starts producing for like Johnny Cash, and he starts doing so much other shit like just outside of hip hop that it's actually crazy. Mm-hmm. Like, Rick Rubin has to be the most legendary producer that's still alive.
Yeah,
I feel like him or Quincy Jones is like the only people that could like.
I would say Quincy Jones would surpass Rick Rubin. I don't know,
but like, who else is even in the conversation? You know what? Like, honestly, like as far as impact on music, on culture, on influence,
culture.
like
no. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I try to find somebody. I was gonna say, no. No, I was gonna say somebody else, but it's just like, no, it doesn't. No, I would have to know all the other acts that he produced. But yeah, Quincy Jones is neck and neck with Rick Rubin, I would say, definitely.
Yeah, but it's just crazy that it just all started from a freaking dorm room. Like, they literally said that he, like, moved all of his desks, like, all the desks and all the furniture together in the dorm room to just have, like, this huge audio setup that he barely even had, like, room for his bed.
Yeah.
And his roommate was like, where are you going to study, man?
I just want to say, this is not a plug for this school. My mom and my uncle went there, but I don't know anybody that left NYU and is not doing well.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, it's a good school. It's not easy to get to.
Right. It's the breeding, too, besides just, you know what I'm saying? It's the successful mindset that you're left with after you've left that school, because that's what it seems like. There's so many people I know that have gone to that school, and so many different forms, like medicine, English, music, all that stuff, and they all do well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know. It's just like, it's hard to overstate the impact that Def Jam had on hip hop as a business.
Yeah.
And for it to be like a cultural phenomenon. Mm-hmm. Because again, it existed before. Hip hop was around before Def Jam, but Def Jam made it be like, even like your grandpa knows what rap music is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They might not necessarily like it, but they are aware of it now.
Yeah.
And that's just like, it's impossible to overstate that. I mean, that's literally like, I don't even know, like, I'm trying to think of like an example of like something else like even close to the impact of it. I guess like Motown, as far as like, for like R&B and like soul.
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
But
Motown
it's like,
changed everything.
That it's just wild how like one label can do that.
Yeah.
You know, with Motown, with Def Jam, and we'll do a Motown episode for sure.
Yeah.
It's just crazy how like one organization or even like two individuals can have such a long lasting impact.
Yeah, and then bringing out those impactful artists as well, because if we go down the line, you know, let's go a couple of years down the line and Def Jam Def Jam doesn't really sign Jay-Z. Jay-Z walks in the door with about $100,000 and enters an partnership with Def Jam, and then we got DMX.
I'm the president now.
Exactly. People like DMX, you know what I'm saying? Huge acts that just like made such an impact and are legends today. It's insane. Rick Ross. And then you have like people who you consider like the best lyricists, best Brooklyn lyricist to me. I may not like what his personal life is about, is like Fabulous. You know what I'm saying? That's a lyricist like motherfucker. And I'm just like, wow, he's on Def Jam too? Of course he is. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Foxy Brown was on Def Jam as well, another Brooklyn rapper. You know, a lot of people that, you know, kind of paved the way in a way. I'm not saying she paved the way for female rappers, but at a time when she came out, she and Lil' Kim style was a new style of rap for females, you know, where it's like, you had Salt and Pepper before that were super girly, but they were still kind of like hood chicks. But like Foxy and like Lil' Kim came through and were like, no, we're gonna buy like $800 shoes, and if you don't buy them too, then you're broke. Like, you know what I mean? It was a whole different style of rapper that came out, and like Foxy Brown was one of those pioneers for female rap the way it is today over on Def Jam. There's so many other artists, and I'm gonna, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna miss out. I mean, Rihanna's on Def Jam at some point, like Rock Nation, Rockefeller, kind of island Def Jam. She was on that, and then Def Jam went international. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
As you do.
Yes, when you're making tons of money.
But yeah, that classic, like the classic, like 82 to like 86 period of Def Jam is just so legendary.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. I feel like rapping like LL right now. His LL's rhymes used to be so great. First of all, they were like easy to recite. You know, they were here and there, and then they were like funny. You know, so that was one of the great things about one of those artists like that, like is like a pioneer on a label. It's like you know why he was like one of the greatest things, and his career has like transcended decades. Like, he could put out, I'm not saying he could put out a record today, but scratch that. Never mind. He did a freestyle just the other day, and I was pissed. I was pissed.
What do you mean you were pissed?
I was like, STFULL.
Oh.
Talking about
it here first.
Feeling like an animal in a cage. They got him locked down. Really? On the set of CSI? You locked down?
That sounds like something we say before at the intro to one of our songs.
Exactly. You can't
check out our music wherever you see music. Sight After Dark, SIGHT. Subscribe to the Music Maniacs Patreon if you like the podcast. Because we're broke.
Well, yeah, just a great label. And, you know, I'm really partial to the city of New York. So lots of, like, you know, just very influential New Yorkers who, like, came out and, like, went ahead and did things that, like, now everybody's, like, inspired to do, which is, like, crazy. Like, just me as a musician, it's like I look to those people. It's just like, and those are the people that you could see in the neighborhood, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that was another thing too. Like, when Def Jam was fairly young, or, like, you know, in the 90s or something like that, you could see those people because you all went to the same things, you know what I'm saying? So let's say hip-hop community, there are, like, a couple of the things you go to that year in New York City. Now, not anymore, because hip-hop is super, super international. But when it was smaller like that, there's a couple of things in the city you went to. Let's say you went to Jacob Javits Center. They had the car show. Everybody went to that. All the rappers, because they want to buy cars too. And then, like, the nobody people, like all the fans and stuff, you just went to it because it was an event at 34th Street, and you were old enough to take the train by yourself, and it was a Saturday, and you just went out with your friends, and you would see different rappers there. That, or something like Greek Fest, you go out to Long Island, and there'd be, like, a huge picnic for all the colleges, and you would go there, and all the rappers would go there too, because
that's where the party was at.
Exactly. So that it was super local back in those days, but now it's like, you know, millionaires have other places to party now.
Yes, they're a little further out on the island.
Exactly.
But one of the things that I take away from Def Jam and just, like, that classic era is just, like, all that really mattered was the music.
Yeah.
Like, they weren't signing people based on a look.
No.
You know what I mean? They were like, do you have it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, LL had it. Run DMC, they had it. And the Beastie Boys had it, even though they were doing a different thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, nobody... Like, the only reason the Beastie Boys were successful is because they were authentic.
Yes.
Like, if they were just, like, trying to be like these other fucking rappers, they would be lame.
Yeah.
But that's just not what they were trying to do. They were just wild fucking kids. And they were just doing wild shit. Like,
and it sold really well. Like, I have my first images of them in their first videos, you know, walking into, like, the shot of the camera, and then, like, me wanting to laugh right away.
Yeah, they were just goofy.
Yes.
They never tried to act like they were these cool fucking... Because they weren't.
Right.
And if they tried to do that, it wouldn't connect with people.
Exactly.
But they were just being themselves.
Yeah.
And that in music, it really in life, like, authenticity is what's going to make you connect with people.
Yeah.
And that was just never their problem. And, like, nobody on Def Jam during that era was trying to be anybody else.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, everybody, all the talents were so different. We got to shout out Slick Rick, who is, like, one of the greatest storytellers ever. I was just listening to The Adventures of Slick Rick at the beginning of the summer. You know, I had to pull it out, and I was just like, I need to hear this again. Some really great songs on that album. And I mean, he himself was being himself. Like, everybody had, like, a similar formula, but they all had their different styles. I mean, Slick Rick's chains are legendary, right? Like, at one point he was picking up his hands, and I remember my brother was like, how he even pick his arms up? Like, the way he's, like, talking. But that was like, how do you go to the bathroom with all that shit on? Like,
hey, you just pee your pants. No big deal.
Well,
with all this money, nobody's gonna notice.
Yeah, that classic. You know, it's crazy because, like, when we did we decided that we were gonna do this topic and stuff like that. And, like, I pulled up Def Jam, and some of the titles were like the rise and fall of Def Jam, like how Def Jam fell, this, that. But when you mentioned just now, like, that classic era Def Jam, it's like, that's the only way I think about Def Jam.
Yeah.
I really don't think of them as, like, fallen or anything. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like they did what they were supposed to do.
I mean, they're cemented in history.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Like, if you talk about the history of hip hop, there's no way you can tell the story without talking about Def Jam.
Right.
It's just not possible.
Yeah. It would be like saying the fall of Motown. It's like, how? It's still...
They're still there.
Right. You know what I'm saying? You still call it Motown music. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you know what is interesting, though? And you probably didn't think about this at the time, because you were saying, like, you didn't even think about, like, when Rick was gone.
Yeah.
But when the decline happened is definitely after Rick left. It's just like...
Totally.
It's just like... it's just like Rick was just so clearly like he just got it. Like it's just so hard to it's so hard to put into words. Like sometimes you just meet certain people and you're just like, you fucking got it.
Yeah.
Like whatever it is that you're doing, like this is something else.
Right.
And Rick was clearly that guy.
Yeah.
And he's continued to be that guy.
Yes.
I mean, like we said, he's produced for just so many artists at this point. It's not just hip hop. It's not just Slayer metal. It's everything that you could ever think of.
Yeah.
He just clearly understands music.
He really does. And you know what's funny about that? When it was clear that Rick wasn't just about hip hop anymore, it's like I felt kind of sad. It's like,
oh really?
Yeah, because it's like of course, as an adult and or as a professional, I'm like, good for him. Of course, he needs to do
you don't
that.
want to be in that box,
right?
Yeah,
but like, it's like a fan. I'm just like, oh, Rick is for everybody now. Like our Rick is gone. Like he's flying off into the distance.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because he was like, it's one of those kind of like local things. You know what I'm saying? It's like how people like the band before they blow up. It's like one of those things, and it was just like, oh, Rick is gone. It was great. And we'll remember you forever. But yeah, so very interesting. And then, and once he left to me, once they started getting into clothes and stuff like that, that's when, the focus goes away because you want to make more money. And that's probably what happened. Like,
And that's probably Russell.
Yeah.
It didn't have Rick to be like, hey, this is what we do.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's just so interesting. Like, I feel like if you follow Rick, there's just greatness all around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's true. It's true. The Def Comedy Jam was funny though.
That was all Russell.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's a great idea too.
Yeah. Holy shit. That used to be funny. He used to have Martin hosted. We never even wanted to see the other acts who were definitely funny, but Martin would host for he would start the show for like a good 5-minute warm up or something like that.
Yeah.
But Def Comedy Jam, that's Def Jam venturing into poetry, spoken word, and comedy.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I easily could have went through this podcast and totally forgot to talk about that. But yeah, that is that was a great idea.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, and there's so many. I mean, I see clips from comedians that I love today all the time from back in Def Jam.
Yes,
like Chappelle on there.
Yes,
fucking Bernie Mac was on there,
right?
Right?
Cedric the Entertainer was on there. And that's when that was hip hop so close knit. It's not professional it was professional, but it's not colder like it is now, with Netflix. Dave Chappelle is on stage right now on a Netflix show. Can't nobody heckle him from the audience. Nobody. Cedric Entertainer, exactly. Right. But you cannot do that. But Def Comedy Jam is like, yo, money, you got cross-color shoes on. It would be stuff like that. And they'll be going back and forth and it'll be funny and the audience will be in on it But
where did they film those?
That was at the Apollo. That was some side stage of the Apollo. Or
I was
going to
say
that.
It had because it feels like the Apollo when you think about
the
it.
Roasting
you know what I mean?
energy. Yeah.
Yeah, just the energy because the way to me I always think of it's they always say if you go to the Apollo and you're not killing it, you're gonna know. It doesn't matter what the fuck you do. You could be a comedian, you could be a rapper, whatever.
Yeah.
If you're not doing well, you're gonna know.
The
crowd is not holding back on you.
Yes. The only time you'd be able to hack it is if you went in and sang Christian music. No matter how bad you sounded, they would clap for you because they were scared to boo God.
Oh, that's hilarious. I never thought about that. But
yeah,
big shout out to Russell for having that idea because it's really at that point. It kind of goes along with what you were saying when they tried to get into clothes and shit. I feel like they were trying to just get into culture.
Yes.
They it wasn't they started out as this was the music and the music influenced the culture. It was part of the culture.
Right.
And then once they reached that level, they're like, how else can we influence the culture?
Yes.
Which does bring some great things like Def Comedy Jam, but can also make you lose your way.
Yeah. Nobody needs Fat Farm. And we don't need baby fat. We don't need it.
Tell that to my 6th grade self.
Please, we've put it on before, but we don't need it. I don't need Rockaware. I don't need it because there's so many polo shirts out there. So many different styles. And you know what? You know what will kill that when you bring that up in a label, deciding to do Fat Farm and other kinds of clothing and stuff like that, when you yourself are wearing like Tom Ford and trying to sell Fat Farm. Like, don't, like, I'm not going to buy that shit from you.
Right.
Like, why are you wearing that? You know what I mean? So it's just
you're not even wearing your own shit. That is like, it's actually really funny. This is kind of related, but kind of not. I remember seeing like, well, I'm literally wearing our shit right now.
That's right.
And I remember like seeing like somebody on social media in like a band that I knew. They were like, I don't understand why people wear their own stuff. Like, why did you like be so like self-centered? And I'm just like, yo, like, if you don't want to wear your own shit, you gotta make better shit.
You gotta make better shit. Yeah. You should just make some custom stuff for yourself. Guaranteed Tommy Hilfiger wears his own shit.
100%. Why would he not? You know what I mean? So I think that's an interesting thing, because I've heard people debate that, but then I'll look at old pictures of Robert Plant. He's wearing a Zeppelin shirt like every other picture. Yeah. Because he knows. He's like, yo, this is the shit right here. You know, like, that's what it comes down to.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that is a really good point. It's like, yeah, you're trying to make all this, you're trying to influence the culture, but you're not even doing that.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, exactly. You don't believe in your product. Like, you know, if we had the money, my goodness, I would have a Sight After Dark bathrobe, terry cloth.
Yo, we'd have a whole SAG clothing brand.
I mean, it would be the silliest thing. I would just mirror after Tommy Hilfiger, because I worked for him for so many years. I would have ping pong paddles, beach bags, sweater coats, umbrella, all the shit I had that was Tommy Hilfiger, because I worked for them.
Bandanas? Could you imagine our logo on a bandana?
That's right.
That would actually look sick.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But but that really goes back to what we were saying earlier. It's like, all that really matters in the long run is authenticity.
Yeah.
Because in the short run, you could do something that maybe would make you popular, you know, in the short term, but in the long term, you're going to be seen as corny for doing that shit.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just stay real to yourself the whole time, not only is that how trends are set.
Yeah.
Because people that set trends are not people that are trying to be like everybody else.
Okay.
They're doing their own thing. You know what I mean? This goes with anything. This goes with clothes. This goes with whatever. Like,
for sure.
They're just doing their shit, and it's great, and people want to be like that. They're not like, oh, well, how do I, you know, use this for me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So like a thing like that, it's just like, if you're losing the authenticity, you're going to be, in the long run, not as praised.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's very, very true. You know, Will Smith said that about himself, because his kid asked him one time when Jaden was real small. He's like, Dad, you ever thought if you just did one thing, you'd be really good at it? Like, he's basically telling Will, stop rapping. Like, and Will was saying,
but he's getting jiggy with it, though.
When he was young, he was like trying to be, you know, trying to fit in, trying to do this, and that. And it's like, well, that's why your music kind of, even though Fresh Prince made a lot of songs that I really like, but I'm just talking about the authenticity. And like, yeah, you're right. Like, you got to stick to it and believe in it. And then it'll like happen. I actually wanted to talk about the top 20 albums on Def Jam of all time.
Oh shit!
They had them. They were like in my
they put out a list.
Yes, they did. A top 20 albums in Def Jam, and that was cool. One that I really wanted to shout out because I feel like I was going down the list.
Wait,
and I was
do
like,
you have the list?
Yeah, I think I have it.
Can we go over it? Because I didn't know that they made, like, Def Jam put this list out, or somebody else did.
Somebody else put this list out.
Was it fucking Complex?
No. It was just the whatchamacallit. It was just a regular list. And I had it.
Oh, just okay, gotcha.
Yeah, but whatchamacallit, they had so
Slayer
many
Raining
albums.
Blood #1.
I don't think did Slayer even make the cut? All right, they actually did 21 albums of all time.
Interesting.
Which is very interesting. Whatchamacallit? So you have Public Enemy.
Holy shit, we didn't even talk about Public Enemy.
We did not. You want to talk about them?
I mean, Public Enemy was one of the first. Well, what we were saying at the beginning of like how punk rock and hip hop is basically the same thing.
Yes.
It's the same attitude. It's the same kind of I don't give a fuckedness. You know what I mean?
Right.
Public Enemy was one of the first groups that I heard, like me growing up, like discovering older music.
Yeah.
Where I was like, this is fucking punk rock.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I was listening, I'm like, this does not feel like this gives me the same feeling as listening to the Sex Pistols.
Yes.
Or like the Clash. Like, to me, it's like the Clash and Public Enemy are the same fucking thing. They're just different people from different places.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
That's true. Making a lot of like kind of like political, social statements and stuff like that.
And you know, they on Spotify they had like a podcast docu-series about the Clash, and it was narrated by Chuck D.
You told me about that.
And it was sick.
You told me about that. I'm going to go back and listen to it because I was supposed to listen to it for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I kept saying I was going to go listen to it, and I did not. All right. So some of the ones that they mentioned were, of course, the Beastie Boys' License to Ill.
Wait, is this in order, or this is just in any order? They just threw out a bunch.
Oh, no, they have them in order. You want to know the order?
Yeah, let's go from bottom to top.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh, this is exciting.
This is pretty exciting. Okay. So.
And then y'all can give us your list after.
Yeah, let us know.
If Slayer's not number one, I don't want to hear it. Just kidding.
Yeah, well, Slayer is definitely there. So let's go for it.
What do we got?
All right. So we have at number 1, we have Public Enemy. It takes a nation of millions to hold us back. Yeah, which is really, really cool.
Is that the one with Fight the Power on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
911 is a joke.
I mean, oh my gosh. Public Enemy was great. And, you know, Flavor Flav is one of the best things that ever hit rap. I mean, like, you know, it's the way he sounds, man.
I'm glad that you said that.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that you said that, because when I was growing up, I didn't get it.
Yeah.
Like, I only knew him from the fucking, like, reality shows and shit. Like, I ended up listening to Public... Like I said, I ended up having a lot of respect for Public Enemy.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you listen to Public Enemy, the first thing you think of is Chuck D.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got that fucking voice.
Yes, it's true.
You know what I mean? So I was just like, Flavor Flav, he's like a hype man, whatever. But then as I get older, I realized that he's so fucking talented. I've seen videos of him on stage just tearing up so many instruments and just being so hype and just having so much energy.
Yeah.
That I'm like, oh, this wasn't an accident.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Shout out to Long Island, this Public Enemy, Flavor Flav and Chuck D from out there on the island. But yeah, that's the number 1.
Oh, also Method Man was signed to Def Jam for his solo.
Yes, he was.
Also Long Island.
Yes.
Method Man, he was back and forth, right?
Right. Yeah. They Def Jam actually wanted the whole of Wu-Tang, but they wanted exclusive rights to the Wu-Tang members and their solo careers.
And RZA was like, that's not how this works.
That is not it. He did, because RZA didn't want to hold on to people's lives like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, we'll definitely do a Wu-Tang episode at some point.
Yes. Wu-Tang is forever.
It's for the children.
You understand me? All right. Number 2 is LL Cool J Radio in 1985. This is a list that they're doing.
Okay.
Hip Hop Golden Age.
Was that the first? That was the first one, right? That was his first.
Yeah. This one is the one with I Need a Beat and Rock the Bells. Rock the Bells I really like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you get a festival named after you on your song, you know you're killing it.
Yes. And I'm trying to figure out who was LL's DJ, because these people have actual DJs. Is it Cut Creator?
Cut Creator.
It's Cut Creator, right? Rock the beat with your hands. I remember that. Cut Creator. All right. Next, I mean, that's some whoa, number 3, Public Enemy, Fear of a Black Planet.
All right.
1990.
Damn, Public Enemy's killing the top of the list.
Exactly. Number 4 is the Beastie Boys' License to Ill. That's 86.
Yeah. Boom. Oh, one thing, well, I want to say this quick about the Beastie Boys. So they actually, I just realized this, like they've been, it's so interesting because I've known the Beastie Boys for a while, obviously, since I was like young. Mm-hmm. And I always listened to their music. And like when I first started like playing guitar and shit, I would be listening to the Beastie Boys and I would hear like the guitar solo on Fight for Your Right to Party. And I remember when I was young being like, oh man, if I could play something like that one day, like that would be crazy. That would be awesome. And then like a few days ago, I was listening to it and I heard that same solo and I was just like, yo, this shit is mad easy. You know what I mean? So like not talking shit about anyone in the track, but like just to me I was like, holy fuck, I've come really far.
Yeah.
Just basing off my like thoughts of the Beastie Boys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I just thought it was like a weird moment that hit me because I listened to the solo. I was like, yeah, I could play that. I was like, whoa, if 11-year-old me heard me say that, it would be fucking shocked.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean?
That's totally awesome. But I mean, those are some really rocking hard riffs and beats, man. I love hard rock like that. I mean, it's amazing. Okay, number 5 is this was my album, LL Cool J, Bigger and Deffer.
Okay.
And this is the one with I'm Bad. Like, he had obviously had a bigger budget because the I'm Bad, like, his girlfriend got kidnapped. They had helicopters. He was on a walkie-talkie, all types of stuff. So that was cool. That's when his personality really burst out, was this album, I'm Bigger and Deffer. Number 6 is Slick Rick, Great Adventures of Slick Rick. We were just talking about that. That's an amazing album. Number 7 is Public Enemy, Yo Bum Rush the Show. I don't know this album, but I do know this picture. So definitely.
Public Enemy's killing it.
They are freaking killing it. What's on this? My Uzi Weighs a Ton, You're Gonna Get Yours, Public Enemy number 1. I don't know this album that well. No, I know Night of the Living Bassheads. So great. Flavor Flav is hilarious. And one of my favorite groups off of Def Jam and in all history is Third Base, who's on Def Jam, and this was the Cactus album. This was Pete Nice and MC Search who found Nas, but like stuff like that with the flat top with like your name. Yeah,
I'll put it on the video so that people can see it.
Yeah. Though that's totally late 80s hip hop, New York. All right, and then we have number 9, Jay-Z and the Blueprint. I love this album.
Oh shit, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, because I'm still in like 80s mode.
Yeah. Shout
out to Jay-Z and Kanye.
Yeah, shout out to them. Yeah, I'm sure we're gonna see Kanye on this list too, because College Dropout was a huge album for Def Jam, and just a huge album.
He was on Def Jam?
That album was on Def Jam, definitely.
Is that crazy? Would you say Def was on Def Jam?
That's definitely. Definite. That's right. Def Jam-ly. This Blueprint album, of course, we love it, but I loved the one right before this, or no, the one after this. No, the one right before this. Yeah, I love the one right before this. Okay, number 10, LL Cool J, Mama Said Knock You Out.
Yeah.
Yeah, after a less than
I love that music
stellar,
video too.
Oh yeah, Gangsta Boogie. Yeah, and then Michael J. Fox is in that. He was in a movie with Michael J. Fox.
It was like, I just realized it was like, because it was a black and white video, right? Or am I imagining that
Yeah, wrong? It was him and the thing.
In
and
the
then
boxing
they show,
ring.
Yes, and they show clips from the movie as well.
So I feel like that music video is almost like the Raging Bull of music videos.
Yes. Yeah.
I just thought of that.
He had to have done that on purpose.
100%, right?
Yeah, because I mean, it's New York.
Shout out to Scorsese.
Yeah, for real. Another New Yorker.
That movie is so sad.
Yeah,
that's a fucked up movie.
It is.
That is not one that you're just gonna rewatch many times.
No.
Just like you're gonna watch, and you're like, oh damn.
Oh look, we were just talking about it. Number 11, Kanye West, College Dropout, 2004.
There it is.
Yep, that was a hot one. Whatchamacallit, Beanie Siegel, Beans is the man. Beanie Siegel with The Truth in 2000. Like, we never heard about Beanie Siegel that much after, because when Nas and Jay-Z had the beef, Jay-Z said something about Nas' baby mother and all types of crazy stuff. And then it's very unclassable, very unclassy. Whatchamacallit, and then so Nas came out, and then he was like, compared to Beans, you're whack. And Beans was a serious lyricist, and he's out from Philly. Nobody was messing with Beans and the whole Rockefeller clique right there. And that, and he's like, plus Eminem murdered you on your own track. And that was a song called Renegade. So after
I know that song.
That dropped, I never heard that on the radio after that. After Nas said that, I never heard Renegade on New York radio ever again.
It goes deep.
It goes deep.
Wow.
And Beanie Siegel didn't put out chart like radio music after Nas said that.
Yeah, but let's be fair though. I mean, at that point in history, most of the time, if you're on a track with Eminem, he's gonna have a better verse. I mean, I don't think that's wrong to say. Like, I don't even think that's much of an insult. Like, he was crazy back in that area.
I mean, well, Jay-Z was considering himself the top 5 dead or alive, right? I mean, you know, if he said it himself, that means it's true.
I don't know. That doesn't even seem like much of an insult to me. You know what I mean?
Jay-Z's a super sensitive guy.
I know he would take it like that, but for me hearing it now, I'm just like, yeah, I mean, Eminem would be better than most people. Like, You know what I mean?
It wasn't even a battle track, and he's like, Eminem murdered you on your own track. And
yeah.
He had to have been thinking that for it to like, I mean, I used to listen to the radio a lot. We used to be driving up and down the FDR. It was nothing but Hot 97 or 105. So we were always listening to the radio. So that's how we know that Nas won that battle. Like,
well, the fact that you just told me that they'd stop playing that track after, that says there's truth to it. Because if there was no truth to it, then why would he care? Let everyone hear the song.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
All right, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, I loved Eminem's verse on that track. No shade. It was a great one.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, okay.
Okay. Warren G. Regulate the G-Funk era. All right. I mean.
That was Def Jam?
Can you believe that?
But,
yeah.
Wow, that's wild because that's a West Coast.
Yes. West Coast artist.
Regulators.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, not necessarily my style of hip-hop music, but you had to admit that Warren G and Nate Dogg had something going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had to.
And every time I hear the original song now, I'm just like, oh, yeah, this is the shit.
Oh, man, that's funny.
Shout out to
Double M, Michael McDonald.
Steely Dan episode coming soon.
All right, Business Never Personal, EPMD. Yes, these are two cats out of Long Island, again, who said that they modeled themselves after Run DMC. Like, the way the logo looks, they did that on purpose.
Yeah.
And Jam Master Jay, God bless and rest in peace to Jam Master Jay, a Def Jam soldier who actually died. But Jam Master Jay was the artist that came to EPMD and was just like, all right, you guys are on tour with us. They were opening up for Run DMC at the time. He was like, y'all don't got a DJ. Basically, that means y'all whack. Don't nobody want to hear y'all. Y'all ain't got nobody scratching in the back. So that's when they brought out
Which
DJ
is totally
Scratch.
something a DJ would say.
Yes. So Jam Master Jay brought out his protege, who is DJ Scratch from Albany Projects in Brooklyn. Shout out to him. And he was EPMD's DJ. And he actually was the DJ at the Big Daddy Kane KRS-One Versus just the other day. He was... Big Daddy Kane's DJ. Yeah. So, yeah, shout out to him. But, yeah, that's just a little bit piece of hip-hop history. I just felt like I had to say that. Some Def Jam history. Why not?
Yeah.
Okay, for number 15 is Scarface. Wow.
Whoa.
I know. Texas.
Damn, Def Jam's all over.
Def Jam South. I bet you it was called that, too. They're on Def Jam South. They're on Def Jam West.
Huh.
I bet you. Because it was Island... Def Jam.
Yeah, because Scarface was part of the Ghetto Boys, right?
Yes,
yeah.
Definitely. This album is one of not only Def Jam's greatest albums, this is one of the greatest hip hop albums. Redman's.
Oh, Redman.
Album.
Yeah,
this album was insane. And he had so many different remixes at the time to songs that were actually on the album. So you would hear an underground radio version and all these different versions and stuff. So,
you know what's funny about Redman? So like, you know the movie How High with him and Method Man?
Of course.
I watched that movie so much growing up. Like, it was on Comedy Central all the time.
Yeah.
That I somehow convinced myself that Redman was part of Wu-Tang. Like, I didn't even realize until, like, years later. I was like, oh, he wasn't actually part of Wu-Tang.
No.
Like, he's just friends with them.
Right. Redman was part of the Hit Squad. Redman is from Jersey. He was part of the Hit Squad, which Eric Sermon from EPMD...
Yeah.
When they broke up, he signed two artists, Keith Murray and Redman. And Redman was one of his artists. Right, yeah. And then Parrish from EPMD had his own group. And so they had like a whole bunch of people underneath them.
Yeah.
So how he became friends with Method Man, I think they just, smoked a lot, But I don't understand really how they came together.
I figured if I study high... take the test high, get high scores, right? Yeah.
So yeah, those two, came together. They're actually, Redman and Method Man are going to be playing both in the 50 Cent TV series Power Book 2. Medman... What's wrong with my words
Medman?
today?
Medical
Method
Man? The doctor?
Method Man already plays a lawyer on that show, but now this season, Redman is going to play his jailed brother on the show.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yes, I'm sure it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, next album coming up, of course, is the Dark Man X himself, DMX, number 17. It's dark and hell is hot. This was insane, this album. I listened to this album years after it came out. Yes.
Yeah, man. Everybody knows that shit to this day.
Of course. Stop Being Greedy is on this. Get At Me Dog is on this. You know, I mean, there's so many. And then he's got so many other poems on it that when I first heard, I was like, whoa. This guy DMX, because this album came out in 98. Okay, so this is when I still used to listen to the radio, like, you know, and like somebody like Angie Martinez, she was probably on maybe Hot 97 at the time, and she would have her evening show, maybe like 6 o'clock or something like that, and it would be like the top 10 songs in the city or whatever, in the country, however they rated it, and like she would have people come in and be interviewed. And DMX, of course, is like promoting this album and stuff like that. He comes in and he's sitting down, and each of his dogs has a seat too.
He's a wild guy.
Up on the chair.
He was a wild guy. R.I.P.
Yeah. So I'm like listening to him, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy's a total meathead. Like, you know, I like the music, but I don't want to listen to him talk and stuff. But then you hear some of his poems. But then he gets
deeper than that.
Yeah. And I'm like, holy shit. So yeah, that was a cool thing. Let's go up, down. Of course, right under him is Method Man to Cal, 1994. This was cool. This album artwork is awesome. It's like, I guess because he was on Def Jam, he does the Woo symbol upside down.
Oh, I never thought about that.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Very strange.
Well, it's so dope how, I mean, obviously, like I said, we'll do a Wu-Tang episode at some point.
Yes.
But it was so cool how RZA was like, all right, he basically made the whole structure of Wu-Tang. He's like, we're going to do these albums, but everybody else, we're only signing Wu-Tang Clan if you can let all of our people do solo albums wherever they want.
Right.
Which is unheard of.
Yeah.
I mean, especially at the time.
Yeah.
But we don't have to get too into that right now.
Yeah, because he's got that young kid who was like a baby Rick Rubin himself. That he actually, the record label that actually let them do whatever the hell they wanted
Tiny
to do.
Rick?
Yeah.
I'm dying in a vat in the garage. Shout out to Rick and Morty if you don't know where that just came from. Yeah. They're like, what are you talking about, dude?
Whatchamacallit? All right, so Jay-Z has had many albums. This one, Volume 2, Hard Knock Life. This was a great one.
It's a hard knock life.
Yeah, Jigga What, Jigga Who, Can I Get a What, Money Cash Hoes. That was dope to me.
Was Big Pimpin' on that?
No, Big Pimpin' is after this. Big Pimpin' is probably the album that we just mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah. This one is probably right before. I like the album that was even before this one, which is In My Lifetime Volume 1. That's the one with Where I'm From on that one. And I rewound that song on a tape until I knew every freaking word.
That's how you know it's real.
That's how you know it's good. And I really liked him at this point. I liked the way he rapped, but he wasn't my favorite rapper. Okay. We're still coming down. Oh my God.
What number are we on? 20. Okay, I was gonna say I feel like we've done a lot.
Yeah, EPMD again. Business as Usual, and then 21 is Nas, an Untitled from 2008. Ugh, not good.
Wait. What record was Illmatic on? Or what label was Illmatic on?
Illmatic. I think he was on Columbia when he first came out. Okay,
good. Because if they were gonna if that was a Def Jam and they didn't have that on that list, then whoever makes this list needs to fucking go back to the drawing board.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how good this album was. I'm seeing all the words on the songs on this album. I haven't heard one. So, I mean, there was a point after when Nas, I was just like,
yeah.
Sorry, Nas.
Well, yeah, that's a solid list of Def Jam.
Yes.
Albums. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty much Def Jammed. No, I don't want to say Def Jammed out, but I've said everything that I had to say, I think. I don't know. Do you have any other points you want to hit on?
No. I kind of wanted to end it with like all the people who have been on it. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
we named a lot of male acts.
Yeah.
I just realized, not that I have a thing with it. A lot of my favorite musical artists are males, you know, not that I have a problem with it, but I just realized it.
I didn't think about that until you said it.
Yeah, because there were tons of female rappers, and most likely they were not on Def Jam. Anyway, so yeah, like a lot of my favorites.
They didn't want to be around Russell.
Well, I mean, that's what it's looking like. Either that or Russell didn't want... Russell did not like female MCs. Was it Russell? No. Sorry, Russell. It was Diddy. Diddy didn't like female MCs. He had a bad experience with a female duo from before. I actually remember who that duo was, but he didn't like them. And then after then, he was just like, I'm not working with girls, like, ever. I wonder why people do that. Like, but anyway.
Yeah, so thanks for watching and/or listening. I say watching because we are on YouTube, right? So thanks for being here, everybody. Thanks for being maniacs with us. If you like the podcast, check us out, patreon.com/musicmaniacs. We'll read your name if you sign up, and you'll help us decide what episodes to do. It's really the best way to support the podcast and keep it going. So definitely, if you got any joy out of this, definitely check us out on Patreon. And that's pretty much it. So thanks for being here.
Thanks.
We love you.
Yeah.
And we'll see you soon.
See ya.
I'd give anything to not hear you whine and cry about my life.